Hi guys, welcome to another video. And then on today's video we're basically looking at Nasdaq and USD, and then I'm gonna start with Nasdaq on the weekly chart just because the market is not open yet. So we have this bottom here, of which we have many touches. We have this touch here, we have this double bottom area whereby we came in a form of a descending channel. This simply means that we are looking for those buying opportunities up until the overall 90% rule. So that is how I'm looking at this market structure here, and then we can just plot out each and everything, the top of the structure, of which is the 90% rule, and then we can have this overall descending channel around this point, just to indicate that we are looking for those continuations to the upside, just because we came in a form of an impulse, and then this could be the corrective move to clearly push to the upside up until the 90% rule. So if we switch to a daily chart, that is where you can understand each and everything. And then before I switch to the daily chart, what I'll do is that I'll cater for this area here whereby the market has been tapping this area, and then we see like some form of a move that happens when we touch this type of area. So initially what I'll be looking for is for the market to break structure around this point, come back and retest in a form of a lower low, in a form of a lower high, and then we can clearly push to the upside up until the 90% rule. So if we take buying opportunities around this point, it means that the trend is not confirmed yet. We can just look for those early entries, but a confirmed entry would happen if we break structure, come back to retest, and then we look for those buying opportunities. Or initially, if we don't retest in this area here, we normally look for that impulse up and then that corrective move 6 to 8 hours on the hour time frame, and then we look for those buys up until the overall 90% rule. So we can just move to a daily time frame, whereby on the daily, most of the time I'll look for structures, and then if I don't find structures, then I switch to a lower time frame. That's what happens when you're using top-down analysis. So this is what we have around this point here. We can clearly see that at the top of the structure we have this first touch, second touch, at the bottom of the structure this first touch and this second touch here, and then this is the third touch at the top of the structure. So initially what can happen is that we can look for those selling opportunities up until we complete this third touch before we can clearly push to the upside. But what we'll do is that we will just focus on this area here and see if we can get an entry, just because this is a high value area whereby we had this touch here, and this touch here. So in a lower time frame you'll get a descending channel whereby we can clearly push up, come back and retest, and then we look for those buys, but not forgetting that we can get like those sells up until we complete this overall move for a first touch, second touch, and the third touch. So do not forget that when you're trading Nasdaq. And then on the 4 hour, what I'll do is that I'll just move the price action and just cater for each and everything that I see around here, and then just to make sure that everything is still intact, the trend is still intact and all of that stuff. So we had this ascending channel around here, so we are just building a picture so that we can just understand what's going to happen in the markets. So as you can see here, we have this last ascending channel, and then we have this area here. Let me just change to line chart and try to make sure that I'm catering for those areas nicely. So this is the area that we have around this point here, whereby if you try and push back to a candlestick chart, you'll see that we can just have this in a form of an impulse down, and then this could be the corrective move to clearly retest this area before we can push to the downside to complete that overall move. So what I'll do is that I'll just be focusing in this area here, just to make sure that we get like those reversals, and then if we don't get those reversals, then or continuations to the downside, just because we have been selling, and then we can look for those selling opportunities up to here and then up until that area here to the downside. But if we break structure, then like I said, we look for those buying opportunities, and then for a confirmed buy we are looking to get like some form of a retest around that area that I was talking about. So I can just remove this block here and just use like a ray line just like this, and just to make sure that I'm catering for all the touches. As you can see, this is a sensitive area around here whereby the market rejected and then pushed to the downside, corrective move, push to the downside, and then we can initially complete the first touch, second touch, and the third touch. But if we break structure, that is when we can look for those buying opportunities, and whereby we clearly break this area, come back and retest, and then we look for those buys up until the overall 90% rule. And then on the hour, it's the same thing that I am looking for. If we break structure, we look for buys. If we continue to push to the downside, then we are following structure, just because this is the impulse, this is the corrective move, and then we can clearly look for those sells up to that point there. And then looking at USDT, so I'll just refresh on USDT, and then we can look at the weekly chart. So on the weekly chart, I'm not going to get deep into it, just because we have this bottom here whereby it's a mass psychology area around this point, and then we have this overall high at the top of the structure, and then we have this overall descending channel around this point whereby we already broke structure, as you can see. Let me just do this, whereby you can see that we already broke structure. We have this push to the upside in a form of a higher high, a higher low, and then we expect a higher high, whereby it can just reach maybe this point here, higher than this one, around this area, or we can hit the overall 90% rule, whereby the market will be trending on USDT. And then another thing that I'll do is that I'll switch to a line chart, just to make sure that I'm catering for those areas very nicely. Then as you can see here, we have a multiple touches, whereby this zone here is very strong. We have this area here, we have this very area here, and we have this area, and we have this area here. So we are initially looking for buying opportunities up to that point. And then even on Nasdaq, we can just wait for a more confirmed entry, just because they move in the same pattern. If Nasdaq is buying, USDT will surely buy, even though it's more like USDT will be buying first, and then Nasdaq will be coming at the back of Nasdaq. It's still fine. They are just moving in the same manner. So as you can see here, we have USDT on the daily chart, and then like I said, we broke structure at the top, and then we have this sensitive area, and then you can just put a ray line just like this as a guide, not necessarily meaning that we are looking for those break of structures like this and then come back and retest and then we sell. No, we are looking for a guide whereby we look for those higher highs, and then when it comes back to make a higher low, that's when you look for a buy, just so on and so on, guys. So on the 4 hour, let me check the 4 hour. So on the 4 hour, we have this type of price action. Like I said, we are using this ray line as our guide, and then as you can see here, the trend is still intact. We are looking for buying opportunities, whereby this can be a trend, and then at the top of the trend we have the first touch, the second touch, and we have this first touch here, and then this is the second touch, whereby we can look for buying opportunities up to here, and then when we sell up to here, and then when it gets to this higher low, we look for buys, so on and so on, guys. So that is it for today's indices analysis. And then before I close it out, I'll just show you like an entry that I'm currently focusing on. This is the descending channel that we have around here, just like this, and then we are waiting for a form of a retest around this point, whereby we got the retest, but we can just look for an entry around the same point around here. If the market opens very nicely, we can just look for an entry, and then we look for buys up to that point, or we can just hold up until the 90% rule. As long as you are in the right trend, even if the market pushes up and then creates a lower high, you can still be in a good trade. So on the hour chart, let's check the hour, see if we can get like a nice continuation pattern. So on the hour chart, we have this type of pattern here, whereby I don't normally trade patterns like this. As you all know, I trade picture perfect setups. So you can just look for that buy around this point, and then your stop loss is just below, guys. So yeah, I'll see you on another video. Please do subscribe, do click that notification bell, and know that the special is still on, whereby the mentorship is about 500 and it's lifetime, guys. So I'll see you on another video. Do subscribe, do click that notification bell.